Work-life balance. It's one of those things that I think for women entrepreneur almost feels unattainable. And yet, when you add in the roles of being a wife, being a mother, being a daughter, it can feel darn right impossible to attain. And I think some of that's our mindset, our expectations around work-life balance. And some of that is actually how we show up. So I thought today I would share with you just seven tips for women entrepreneurs to balance work and life and reach your goals. Because the whole goal here is not to necessarily put one part of your life on hold for another part. I find when we think of it as this equal thing, we enter into a lot of conflict because there is nothing equal about all the roles in our lives, right? They have priority. They can be doing great for a while and then demand our attention, and rightly so in a lot of cases. But it's how we are showing up with this expectation around work-life balance that really and truly creates a lot of guilt for women entrepreneurs, creates a lot of pressure, creates a lot of stress. And when you're under pressure and under stress, and you feel torn and pulled in a million different ways, you're never where you need to be. So you're constantly distracted, which means you get less done. You feel more pressure, more stress. It is one of those vicious downward spirals that we just would love to avoid. If you adopt, I won't even say you have to adopt all seven, but if you just really adopt some of these, the ones that feel attainable to you today, I can tell you that what you will experience will be night and day different. You'll find that you do get more done, and it's going to be very counterintuitive. You're not going to think you're going to get more done, which is probably one of the big hurdles that you'll have to face, but you actually will get more done. You'll have more time. Right? You'll have more time, you'll feel accomplished, you'll feel successful. That is why I am talking about this with you today, because I have a bit of a different viewpoint when it comes to things like time management and work-life balance. And partly that's through my own study, but also partly through the work in my own world, the work that I've done on myself to get to the place where I am today. And so these seven that I'm going to share with you are practices that I put into play every single day. And I will tell you, I'm not perfect, but they're so easy. If I happen to stumble, if I happen to put one of these principles down, they're so easy to pick back up. So I don't worry about failing, because I can always improve the next day, if that makes sense. So our first principle that I want to give you, tip that I want to share with you, is about presence. And I think probably one of the best conversations I ever had was with a gentleman on time management and work-life balance. And he likened it to being on a surfboard. Now, I've shared this story before, but if you haven't heard it, here it is that when you are on a surfboard, the only place that you can be is on the board. Because if you're not present with what's happening on this board, you'll wipe out. You won't succeed. So he said, I feel like work-life balance is about being wherever you need to be, when you need to be there, and then being there 110%. The gift of presence is a gift for somebody else. Like if you and I are sitting across the table, the fact that I can be present with you is a gift, right? It tells you that you're important to me for me to be present. But it's also a gift to you, because it's almost like you can create this little bubble that blocks out the 1001 distractions, interruptions. Can I ask you questions? All these things that really can flood your day, right? And distract you and keep you off course. But presence is something you have to practice. It is something that is so easily eroded because your phone doesn't want you to be present. Your email doesn't want you to be present. Sometimes the people around you just don't want you to be present. But when you talk about going frazzled to calm, presence is one of those keys. Because if you are where you need to be, when you need to be there, and you're there 110%, when you have to move over to the next thing, you no longer feel guilty about it because you know you did this well. So presence is a huge, huge place to start. 2 is priorities. Now, I think we all feel like we know how to prioritize, but we have so many choices, so many options, so many good ideas that sometimes it's really challenging to prioritize. Those priorities, those are like our task priorities. I'm talking about priorities maybe at the 50,000 foot level. So if you're thinking tasks, that's really, in the weeds. It's at the 5 foot level. But I want you to define your priorities up here. Now, sometimes that's how you show up, how you want to be perceived, the goals that you have, your values, your approach to life. Like if you prioritize in-person, interactions over virtual interactions, that's great. That's your priority, right? So we need to know what these are. And even if you're just writing them down in a journal, what your priorities are, your really big 50,000 foot priorities, that is enough. That it doesn't have to be complicated, but we just need to become aware of what they are. And I love this. There was a quote that I used in my book from Mark Cuban, and he said, "At the end of the day, I can always fail at business because I can start a new one tomorrow, but I can't fail at my family. I only get one of them." So that's a great quote that tells you exactly what his priority is. And if you've ever watched him on Shark Tank, if you've ever gone to a conference where he's spoken or heard an interview with Mark, you know that he's very business oriented, highly so. And he's also quite focused when he is in the business mode. So that's almost like gift of presence kind of coming through. So really get in tune with your priorities and don't be afraid to say no to something if it's not in your priority. No matter how good of an idea is, no matter how many people are doing it, don't let FOMO, the fear of missing out, knock you off balance. And I think FOMO probably is one of those things that really erodes priorities super, super fast. The third tip that I'm going to give you is to give you goals. So priorities are those big things. Like for me, family is a priority. It's a priority for me to live or work to live, not live to work. Like that's a priority for me. So a goal for me might be like, I have travel goals because travel is a huge expression of freedom and joy and adventure, all 3 of my values, that I have in my life. So I have a travel goal. Now I also have a business goal because I'm trying to reach a certain level of impact. I want a certain personal income. I have, operational expenses to cover, right? So I have a goal revenue wise, but I can also have some softer goals out there. Maybe it's fitness goals. I want to work out so many times a week, 3 times a week. I likely will never be a 5-time-a-weeker, but 3 times a week. Okay, so what is it that I can do? So those are the points that help me keep on track, that make my priorities happen. Does that make sense? So it's almost like we are stepping down in detail when we are defining those goals. Now, the 4th tip is kind of an advanced yoga move, and I call this the alignment, because we can have priorities and we can have goals, but if they compete, Like our brain can't reconcile how both can exist at the same time, then what they create is a competing commitment. A competing commitment will just, I don't know, just kind of blow everything to smithereens, because you will have the hardest time reaching that goal, getting motivated for it, following through on the things you think you should be following through. Maybe it's that workout goal if it's 2 or 3 times a week. If that goal is in a competing commitment with how you view success, you're going to have a really hard time. Now, this is a newer concept to me, something I came across through researching a couple of different things, because I'm always studying, like, why do some people reach the goals and why do some people don't? Because I work with so many people now, helping them get to their goals in their business and helping that business fund their life. And this is such an important concept. So if you're struggling, right, to like your goals and your priorities feel like that might be in competition, you've got to do a little work here. You've got to identify why that is and then start changing the belief. Number 5, I say this in our the Your Biz Rules Mastermind all the time, because we talk about work-life balance as women entrepreneurs, real conversations. And one of the things that I see, and I can be guilty of this as well, is that for women entrepreneurs, as you evolve, as you move along your journey for entrepreneurship, you don't tend to put any of the balls down. You know, whatever balls you have when you start your business, you tend to keep these balls like right here, like they're medals of honor or something. And then you walk along and you're growing, and now you have team and you put that ball of responsibility on. And then maybe new marketing initiatives, you put that ball of responsibility on. And it's pretty soon you're carrying this platter of balls that are starting to be dropped. And you start to feel guilty and you start to wonder why you can't get it done. You used to be able to get it all done. Like this whole mind head trash that goes on, this conversation. Really and truly, tip number 5 is to let go in order to grow. That you can't pick up something without taking something off. And sometimes that transition is sticky. It doesn't feel good. You're not sure how to do it and feel good about, what somebody else might do in your place. That's oftentimes when people are like, it's just faster for me to get it done. Well, maybe, but you also have 45 other things that you need to get done. So is it really matter if you're faster? Not really, right? But we have to let go. We have to be able to transition from the worker in the business to the manager, the owner, the ruler, if you will, the leader. Okay. And think of it. I want you to kind of think of the fact that you're a queen of a kingdom, and your business and your family and your roles and responsibilities are all your subjects. You love them all equally, right? You've got to allow things to be fluid, so that you're guiding, but you're not forcing everything. So tip number 6, can you just do one thing? Like just one thing at a time. Like this whole concept of one thing. One, it talks about multitasking, right? Because that's the thought that you can do more than one thing at a time. You really can't. You just switch, which causes inefficiencies, by the way. So multitasking, can't do that. This one thing, here's the other part, and this goes back to priorities and goals too, is I want you to do one thing so well and so completely so that it gets done. So then you can move on to the next one thing. Now we have a rhythm that we talk about in the Your Biz Rules community, and it's one goal, 4 quarters, which translates to 4 initiatives, 3 tasks, right? And maybe and your metric. And so you're really just going on these 90-day sprints where we're just working on one thing to get done. Maybe it's a couple of things, but it's not 12. We're not trying to move the mountain in 90 days. But what happens when you focus like this, what happens when you do something to completion, is it takes less time. Number one, score, I've just given you time back. Number two is when you get it done, you can see results. When you get into this process of getting things done and working on them and revising and getting done and working on them and going like this, it's like we're getting the engines of your business and your life to get kind of rolling. We're building momentum. Momentum is the hardest thing to build in a business. If you've ever read any of Jim Collins's work, he talks often about the flywheel, that getting that flywheel going is the hardest part. That's what takes the most work. That is building momentum. Once you have momentum, it's easy peasy, as long as you maintain it, right? And that's what we're trying to do here, is when you think about what's your one thing this month, what's the one big thing you've got to get done this month, so that this quarter you are making a big, bold move towards your goal, or one of the strategies that helps you reach your goals. So you really want to simplify, because what simple gets done, right? And what gets done generates results. And then we're just layering. We're just bringing on the power and the momentum that you're creating. When you do this, and this is why it's so counterintuitive, you're like, but there's so many things that I must do at the same time. It's like, not really. Just worry about the next thing and get that done. And then do the next thing and get that done. So one, I will give you another kind of tool or tip that we use a lot, and that's, we have good idea files. I've got some clients that come up with more good ideas that it's just like mind-boggling. Like, where did you get that idea? Like, they love coming up with the good ideas, and we file them. We prioritize them and we file them. And then once a quarter, we bring them out. We're like, oh, this is the time to do that good idea. So we're never losing any of them. We're not missing out on anything, but we're focusing on one thing, getting it done so that we can move on. 7 is so important. It's rest and recovery. The hardest thing that it can be to do as a business owner, as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, all those roles, all the hats that you wear, is to recover. You're not a machine. You're a human. I don't know if you've noticed that. You need the rest and recovery. And maybe you've got, my family, we call it a sit quotient, like how long you need to chill out before you feel like you're recovering. I happen to have a lower one than my husband does. And we joke about it all the time, right? Because we're aware of what that looks like for each other. But you need this ability to take a breath, to recover a little bit, and to be able to re-engage your energy levels, your motivation, your inspiration, your stick-to-itiveness, in order to keep all the balls in the air. But it's okay for you to rest and recover, especially in between big sprints. I know some business owners that take off the 13th week. You know how there's 12 weeks, but then there's usually a 13th week for every quarter. They take that week off. That's their vacation time. That's their downtime. There's no golden rule that says that you can't do something similar. I like to take off Fridays. I like to have a little bit of room and space. A lot of times because my Monday through Thursdays are pretty intense, right? I'm delivering a lot of things, but I need time to process, to recharge, to catch up, to do all those things. So I feel like on Monday morning, I'm ready to hit the ground running again. So these 7 principles, presence, priorities, goals, competing commitments, letting go, focusing on one thing, rest and recovery, they are those principles that create a balanced life. It creates that ability for you to be where you need to be, when you need to be there, and be there 110%. But you've got to put them in place, right? There is no one way to get this done. There's no, I have my notes, I have different strokes for different folks. There's so many ways that you can accomplish this for yourself. And you need to be having conversations with people who are going through the same journey, who have their aha moments, who can say, I've been there, that's totally normal. But here, have you thought about this approach? Because it's truly how you're able to find your own secret sauce, your own 7 principles that make your work-life balance possible so that you can reach your goals. Listen, if you're looking for a place where you can have these conversations, if you are a woman entrepreneur that wants to surround yourself with people and other women who are growing their businesses and going through the same thing, then I'd invite you to check out our Your Biz Rules community. If you have any questions, you can always DM me. We'll be happy to share with you about it. But until then, I will say, what can you practice today? What is it that you can put to work in your own life so that you feel more balanced, you feel more accomplished, you feel a certain peace and calm about it as well? Well, that's it for today, guys. I hope you're doing well. This has been Leslie Hassler with Your Biz Rules Business Coaching.